Hi friends and companions along this path of spiritual practice. Years ago, in an interview with Zen teacher Reb Anderson Roshi, a student was describing how the meditation practice was going really well for her, doing everything wholeheartedly with complete awareness. Anderson Roshi responded, how do you know that you're not just dreaming that you're doing everything wholeheartedly with complete awareness? And then he developed the question further with the rest of the community gathered, asking all of us how we know that our practice is deepening, how we know that we're not simply following our usual dispositions and preferences, just going along with our prejudices. How do we know that our practice is taking hold? And he said, we all need someone in our lives to whom we are held accountable. Anderson Roshi was talking about accountability partners. In the Zen practice, there are other methods and forms of accountability. Some of you are familiar with chanting gathas or verses, like the one that many of us are familiar with at meal times. This food is a gift of the universe, the sky, the earth, the labor of all beings. May we eat it in a way that is worthy of their offerings. Or maybe some of us are familiar with Thich Nhat Hanh's mindfulness bells, or any object in the course of a day. It might be a timer on our phones, but a mindfulness bell that reminds us to pause, to return to ourselves and to this one precious moment of our life. But in the Zen community, there is another difficult and yet all the more important form of accountability that is about asking another person to support our spiritual practice by holding us accountable. In the Zen community, it is the Sangha or the community, or often it is the relationship between teacher and student. These forms of accountability partnerships that are so important in supporting our daily spiritual practice. I spoke about meditation as a journey from busy thoughts that with time and focus, they settle into motivational energy that have surfaced those thoughts. And if we give time and focus to staying with our motivational energy, we begin to have an insight into foundational values, these fundamental orientations that define and shape the journey of our life. I remember a time many years ago when I was thinking about a group interaction. An individual had brought in a story of real challenge and difficulty, how they were experiencing much pain and loss and a feeling of despair, of hopelessness. And they felt really isolated and alone. One after the next, the members in that small group reassured her, but we love you, you know that we love you. With meditation, that small group came to a deep recognition of how human beings often use expressions of love to disguise and deflect away from our own pain, our own fear and discomfort with that sense of despair and helplessness. I think about another moment, another small group engaged in a really difficult and challenging and painful conversation about racism. And some of the people interrupted that difficult moment in the conversation by calling out how things were becoming unsafe. Safety is a foundational value, and this conversation is starting quickly to feel unsafe. But with meditation and the invitation to reflect on the motivations at work and the values undergirding those motivations, as a group we came to realize how safety often is a disguise, or it's confused and used as a stand-in for comfort. And when the small group members really thought about it and settled deeper into exploring the foundational values, there was a confusion about whether safety was the foundational value or whether it was really about comfort. And I still remember another time when I was reflecting on love as a value and really being unsure and unclear about what love is. I thought about how there are 96 words, I'm told, in Sanskrit for love. Or in the Persian languages, there are some 70 words that are used for love. I'm more familiar with the Greek and the 6 very familiar words that the Greeks introduced about love. Agape, eros, ludus, that playful form of love. Philia, that deep friendship. Philatia, which is about esteem and self-love. And pragma, the long-standing and tested love. But these kinds of love, compared to the paucity of the language of love that we have in English, compared to the number of words and forms of coffee that we have in our very sophisticated coffee culture. But our vocabulary of love is emaciated, and so it diminishes our capacity to engage in the larger societal work of bringing love and compassion. So as meditation helps us to quiet and settle our thoughts to deeper motivational energies that give birth to those thoughts, and then even deeper to foundational values that shape our motivations and really our whole lives. I'm thinking about accountability, and that these values and insights we gain about our values are bettered by having accountable partners to share, to expose those values, to expose our stories with another person who can hold us accountable to learning and growing and embodying and practicing our spiritual practice. It was James Baldwin who reminded us, if I love you, I have to make you conscious of things that you don't see. Many of us are stepping into accountability partnerships around the intercultural development plans that we have individually drafted. We recognize the need to be in a relationship with someone with whom we can share, with whom we can talk about these insights as we learn difficult truths about ourselves. And so, likewise, in this spiritual practice of meditation, as we settle deeper into gaining insight about our foundational values, I want to encourage all of us to think about accountability partners and invite others into our spiritual practice. And so, friends, we continue with our spiritual practice.